Ooh, I like that, Pam. Okay.
Happy Women's History Month. Yay!
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Women's History Month to you, ladies.
Yes, absolutely. So everyone watching, again, what's going on? Black Speakers Network is in the building. Super excited yet again to be here for another Speakers Magazine cover reveal, and obviously, you know, have an amazing interview coming up with the amazing Dr. Geneva Williams. And guess what? We also got Peppy in the building. She is here. It is not a game. Do not adjust your computer or your television set. It is real.
Peppy is always part of the conversation.
Yes, he's a mascot. He wants to be recognized.
So excited. That was an amazing video. I you know, Women's History Month, of course, coming right off of Black History Month. And I was like, Sierra, do you hear that bass? I was sitting over here like, oh,
that's
okay,
right.
Here we go. I was like, all right, you know.
It made you so proud too, right? Just as being part of one of the things I talked to Pam about is community. And it's, you know, it's so, I feel so proud to be part of a community of not only Black speakers, but Black women that are really leading the way for us. So yeah, there was some bass in that video. And I was right with you, Brian, jamming on this end too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you notice the colors too, because, you know, talking about Women's History Month. So one of the things too is that we have a new VP, Kamala Harris, who is African American descent or African descent, and she's a AKA, and our cover girl, Dr. Geneva Williams, is a Golden Sword of AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Yes. Out of Brian out of Morgan.
Oh yeah,
Morgan State.
You know, we got a couple AKAs over there. You know? Just a little bit. Yes. Yeah. Dr. Geneva, how are you? How are you doing?
I am just doing fabulous, doing really great. So good to be here with you. I mean, I just feel, you know, honored and humbled, you know, to be with you all, who I think are the masters of what it means to speak. You know, anybody can speak, but, you know, when you have the masters, when you have the platform that you all have created, it just feels so good and right, particularly for these times. So I'm doing great, Brian.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, Pam. I mean, many of you know the story of Black Speakers Network, and Dr. Geneva, this is the official kind of publication, the magazine of Black Speakers Network. So Pam was like one of our first platform partners, and I think just a beautiful, like, I think speaking and writing is so connected. And I also think that, you know, when you have somebody who has, you know, really spent their life kind of dedicated to elevating, you know, voices of color like Pam and Mark, it's great. And now we have Sierra, and now we get the opportunity to meet, like, every month. I know I'm going to meet somebody amazing like yourself and just have some of these great conversations. Plus, you know, we're joined. I see Dr. Ashley Dash here, Alicia, Mr. Eric Holmes, Mia Reed, Montrella, like so many hundreds of BSM members chiming in. So it's always a great conversation. But, you know,
and I don't know if you remember, Brian, but I was there for your launch when you came to Detroit.
I do remember that. That was after my accidental Uber ride. I will never forget, to Canada.
Phenomenal. And I knew from that moment it was going to be a great thing.
Wow, I appreciate that.
Was that last year? Or was that two? That was two.
No, it wasn't last year.
2019.
Yeah.
Yes, 2020 was a blur, but yeah, that was 2019. Right. We did the Speak Up, and we were at the African American Museum, and Karen was there. Bless her heart. She actually, the manager of WGPR, that radio station, she just passed maybe about a month ago of COVID. So 2020 is in 20. You know, this whole pandemic thing has made everything so different and make us realize just how precious life is. And so I just, you know, it's really time for us to really share our voices and be serious about it. And knowing that, you know, we need to leave something better than the way it is, you know. And so Karen was one of those people where she made that radio station a museum. I mean, it was her vision. It was her idea. She ran it. You saw it had the interactive stuff in it. It was really that was brilliant. A brilliant idea.
No, I didn't know that. So no, that's yeah, it was phenomenal. You really felt like you were walking through history, just being in there. And so
media.
Yeah, that was incredible. So yeah, so we're here obviously every month. So if everybody's just tuning in, like, what's going on? So Black Speakers Network, this is our monthly opportunity to celebrate the Speakers Magazine issue, a new issue now. It's only the 13th of the month, so we still have lots of Women's History Month to go. And Pam always does a phenomenal job of finding individuals to spotlight both within the magazine and, of course, the cover. So you can see right next to Dr. Geneva, that is the cover. Pam has copies as well right there. So if you head over to Speakers Magazine, .net, you'll get an opportunity to actually see the issue. You can read it right online and check it out. And obviously, if you are a speaker looking to increase your visibility, we are already working on the April issue. And so there's opportunities to do that. We'll talk about that later, but certainly super, super excited. But now that we have Dr. Geneva here and Sierra, of course, you always do such a good job on creating these beautiful and well-written cover stories to really accentuate what's going on. So this is just the dream team right here.
And I want to add that the quality of people that Pam and Mark bring together. You know, we're talking about this magazine, but how Pam threads everything together and make sure it's of quality so that it is something that we can look back on. She talks about the museum, the radio station being a museum. That's what these magazines are. You know, we're able to go back and really keep note. These are footprints for us to really hone in on. So I personally appreciate the quality, the quality of people that Pam is able to bring together. Of course, I have the hard job of sitting before them. You know, that's the easy thing. But yeah, the quality of people I get to interact with is amazing. So
I will say really quick, last night, and these two women are so vibrant, so historic. One was Black History Month, one was Women's History Month. They were on Clubhouse last night. Yes. Dr. Geneva and Judge Lloyd, they were on Clubhouse last night. And
in the same room?
Yes.
We were doing the darn thing.
Yes.
Like Dr. Geneva, I think, is one weekend to Clubhouse. I think Judge Lloyd was like 2 days.
Right. She still had her hat on, her party hat. It was a great room.
People was there, and I was like, and then Michelle McKinney-Hammond, who was also another, she wrote like 40 books. She was in the room as well. So one of the things about Black women, and I want to just say this, they are vibrant and fabulous. And Dr. Geneva has a course on how to live that vibrant life. I mean, I want to say she's baby boomer. So she's a little bit north of 60, because I'm 60, right? And Judge Lloyd is also north of 60, and they look fabulous. Still doing it. Now, one of the things, some people will go and just like sit down and just like, you know what, I'm good. I've done one career for 40 years and I'm just going to just do whatever. Nope, not Dr. Geneva. Bam, here we go.
There she is.
She's like, I got a new career now. I'm going to be, she's in like,
what is that?
This is actually Health Alliance Plan. She is the, I guess you would say the model for Health Alliance Plan. This one is Squashing Your Stress. Okay, so she's in commercials. She was in, what do you call it? Their magazine. I can't think of what you call it. Their brochure that mailed out to like thousands and thousands of people. She just told me, what was that, Dr. Geneva? You did your COVID shot and you were on like a big poster board in the.
And this is through and what is it? AARP? Is this
this is HAP. AARP is something different.
Okay.
This is Health Alliance Plan.
Okay.
And this came after she went and signed up. She's a speaker and she did some photo shoots. So she had to do the branding, but she had these fabulous photos. And she says, you know what? A friend of hers suggested, and what's your friend's name, Dr. Geneva? Your best friend?
Sandy.
Sandy says, you know what? Pam, I think she would really do. And so me and Sandy kind of went in cahoots about it. And we said, I said, yep, we're going to do that. So we submitted her photos to like a talent agency.
Oh.
And so me and Sandy said, yep, she would be great as a model. And I'm not kidding. Like about a week later, she got a call for audition. And I said, well, that's great. She said, but they want me to be in a swimming suit. I'm like, well, there you go. And so anyway, so the audition went,
I have so many questions.
Fabulous. And then the next thing I know, she's in the commercial and I'm watching CNN and I see her in this commercial. Of course, it's on YouTube as well. But I mean, literally it was in CNN. And then not only that, then it goes further, Dr. Geneva, and I'm seeing it everywhere. I get it in the mail. And then this is when I hollered. I said, oh my God. So if I got it, and I don't even have help, I said, Health Alliance Plan. I said, well, they probably mail this to everybody in Michigan. It's like her face is everywhere. And
congratulations. What a great backstory. Yes.
And the backstory is too, this was 2018. So 2019, when you did your signature event, it was like, we need to have them to be the sponsor, because you are their girl. And so actually she met them at another event where she won an award, and she approached them and they were like, you're that girl. She says, yes, I'm that girl. She said, and I have an event coming up on MLK Day in 2019. Would you be the sponsor?
Well, I think one of the things that we as speakers, I found is that we can repurpose what we do. Mm-hmm. So if we make connections in one arena, trying to connect those connections to other arenas really works for us as speakers, because if we're good with our message and our platform to one audience, particularly these days, I believe that message is transferable. And if the message we find that we're giving isn't transferable, we need to make it that way. I really do, because, you know, as we talk, we always talk a lot, particularly since pandemic, about pivoting and changing. I think we also need to think about transferring, you know, that making our message diverse enough, or rather inclusive enough, so that we can in fact tap new audiences with the same basic message.
We actually, Dr. Geneva, I'm so glad you talked about that. We're fresh off of a training. So we do speaker development classes every Thursday. We had Sade Adu, who's about to do her dissertation soon to become a doctor. But she was talking a little bit about how to create digital products for your speaking business. And one of the case studies that she used was Beyonce, and how she is just masterful at repurposing content. So we looked at, like, you know, Coachella, Lemonade, that whole Netflix, and it was just amazing.
Absolutely. You know, that's the way to go. And I think, again, these days and times, often, you know, because I believe, particularly for those of us who are in the speaking business and we're solo entrepreneurs, you know, we're just doing our thing, we're speaking, that it's important to remember that, you know, we are our brand. So being there, being authentically there and sending out a message, you know, is cool. We can be there, and finding ways to, you know, reuse that message, repurpose it for different audiences, you know. So I happen to talk a lot lately. I've been asked to talk about, well, you know, stress and worry and how to stay positive, particularly during the pandemic. And so what I found was this was a universal message, because when you do any kind of research, you find that many, if not most Americans, particularly now, even before pandemic, but particularly now, worry. They worry about something. And so I decided to take that subject, that topic about worry, and make it apply universally to women, to men, to Black, to white, to young, to old, because I found, particularly during these times, it had a universal flavor. And then you know what happened, Brian? And that's what I was sharing with Pam. So this, TV commercial and the print material that resulted from it with HAP, the Health Alliance Plan, they repurposed it the year later. And guess what they repurposed it to? They took a shot of me in a pool, and I was stretched out. Now, I really expect them to do that. I really want to do it, but it's all right.
It happened.
But they had me in this pool and they were shooting me from a drone, and I was laid out like this looking and just as happy, and it was just, people wanted to be in that space because it was in the water and I was happy. And what they did was they repurposed that shot from 2 years ago to say, because of the pandemic, reducing stress.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you do it. Okay. And that fit exactly with what I was talking about, in terms of my message. So I just say that to say, particularly with, when we walk with God and we give that authentic message and we think about it from who we're talking to, their point of view, our customers or our clients, what brings value, what will help people, then we can find ways to diversify the message so that we can help many, many more folk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is good.
That's a word.
And that's your name of your book. What's the name of the book the ebook that you have? It's called
now I've got several, Pam. So
right.
He's like, which one? I mean, you want to talk about books? I mean, you talking about the audio book?
So I will say this. So a lot of times working with speakers speak and they love to talk, and she has a podcast and she's just really busy doing a lot of things in the community. So getting a book done was kind of a challenge. But it's almost like once you do that first one, you kind of like start birthing babies and you can't stop. So her first book, first book was Justice on the Jersey Shore. She's a Jersey girl. Mm-hmm. And tell them about how that book came about. And that's the hardcover book. That's like her signature book. That's her, I would say that's your legacy book.
It really is, Pam. Yeah. It's about my dad and his social justice fight and struggles and victories in pursuing inequalities and injustice in housing, employment, and education. And so he was an ordinary man, and he and my mom just did extraordinary things because they believed that every day they needed to do something good for their community, that they believed in service and leadership. And I learned service and leadership from them. But my dad, because he wanted to live in a neighborhood that was really fabulous, but when he goes with the money in his pocket for down payment, now this is in the 50s, when he goes to get the home with my mom, after several times of trying to get into the development office, he was told, well, look, Mr. Jones, don't waste your time. We just can't build the house for you because we don't build homes for Negroes. And he was a basketball star in his hometown, had been in the Army, had gone to school, had a degree, had credentials, my mom too, and they had the money, the whole bit. And they were told, can't do it. So that began for him a 3-year fight to do it. And he went through all the courts, ended up in the Supreme Court of New Jersey and won a unanimous decision. It was a landmark case because it changed housing discrimination laws in New Jersey forever. And so, but during that whole time, there were death threats, crosses on our lawn, mail, just a whole series of things. I mean, it really was a challenging time, but he was one of those heroes who you don't hear a lot about, but there were thousands of people like this all across the country during the 40s and 50s and 60s who were creating community change. And so this book is about him. We started it together. The whole idea was we were going to publish it together. He passed before that happened, but it's a series of my interviews with him. And though I heard so many, I grew up hearing the stories, and a lot of stories I was there and saw the things, of course, you know, every time the phone would ring and my mother would tremble in answering it. I never knew why back then. But, you know, what was happening was we were flooded with all kinds of nasty phone calls and hate mail all the time, which I never knew about then. But I had heard the stories over and over again. But this was a time for me to sit down and really dig deep with him and ask, well, why did you do this? And how did you feel? And, you know, Brian and Pam and Sierra, what I discovered in that questioning of him, I really discovered me, because the reasons that he did what he did, and he and my mom did, so much of that was passed on to me and my sister. And that's why I do what I do today. And so, you know, it was a eye-opening, heart-wrenching kind of thing. And so that was my first book. My second was Living Life Over 50. You know, by that time I had, I lost him and my mom and my husband of 40 years. We had a great marriage, but I lost him to cancer, and I lost them all about the same time. So I was in a deep, dark funk. And I was really searching for, what do I do next? You know, I had a career for 40 years in nonprofits. I was in leadership and service. I was a nonprofit executive and leader, and I raised millions for community initiatives, ran foundations, helped organizations with their community action plans. So I know how to put a plan and a vision and change communities. And that's what I did for 40 years. And but I wanted to have my own platform. So I decided, well, I'm going to leave that and step into the world of entrepreneurship in my late 60s. And about 2 months after I did that, my parents got sick. My husband got his first diagnosis of cancer. And for the next 3 or 4 years was caregiving and grieving and all of that, and then burying them. And so I was really lost, didn't know what to do, didn't know what I was really going to do, was supposed to be doing this new career thing. And one day I discovered that, you know, and frankly, Brian, looking at their obituaries, when I saw that in common, each of them had that dash, you know, that horizontal stroke between when we are born and when we die. And really, I really realized that stroke that's what I cherished about them. That means that dash represented their life, their living, their meaning, their purpose. And what I realized was, hey, I got to reinvent myself for my purpose. And so it was a long struggle back, but that's what I did, with God helping me push through. And shortly after that, and I started getting back, that's when I started my podcast. Pam helped me with that. She helped, I always say that she helped save my life, because doing those podcasting got me to talk to people from all across the country and hear their stories of success and failure and what they learn. And it helped me see all the wonderfulness that we have out there and all the power that we have. And so I did my podcast, and then I, you know, did my books.
She did over 100 podcasts, guys.
Yeah. Yes. And so I wanted to say also, for us as speakers, again, I'm really into this reimagining, reinventing, repurposing, the re-reads, as Aretha Franklin would say.
Re-reads.
Okay? The re-reads, because, you know, my second book, Living Life Over 50, you know, how to date, find love, and figure out your next moves. That book was really a compilation of my blogs.
Mm-hmm.
And my blogs really came from my podcast. Mm-hmm. And my podcast came from the topics that I would speak on and the people I would meet. Mm-hmm. Well, I just think one of the things as we become smarter about speaking and using our platforms is to think about this whole, notion of repurposing and how we can be so much to so many different people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What do you that's such a powerful story, and I'm just when I was reading through this and just going back to your story, like you really, it's kind of like you can kind of almost break life into like these different quarters. So like, first 25 years, you're just kind of like getting yourself together. And then the next 25 years, you're kind of, getting mastery of certain things. And then, over 50, I feel like there's like a mentality out there that some people are like, and Pam, that, Dr. Frazier has this whole, research around people being most productive in like the 70s and 60s. Mm-hmm. But for you, Dr. Geneva, what do you think is the perception with women specifically, since you work with women as well, but it's like, what do you think is the perception of people over 50? And also, well, let's start there. Like, what do you think is the perception of like people over 50, and how has your work kind of like impacted that?
Well, Brian, a lot of us, male and female, but particularly women, when we get to that 50-year mark, we stop and think, well, this is half a century. And, you're feeling, well, maybe I should be further along, or, I've spent all this time, raising children, helping a spouse, or, am I at the place where I want to be in my career? And then you got all these body changes. Oh my goodness. And for women, that's heavy. And then usually as women, we're taking care of either children or our parents, or somebody older or younger, somewhere along the line. We taking care of somebody. Mm-hmm. So, it's at that point where you stop and say, I know I did. What's going on? What should I be doing? And the biggest question I had was, well, what do I do next? Mm-hmm. And so that's where I really think that women, if they stop and really think about and plan their next moves, and that's where, that's a lot of what I do and the work I do and what I speak about, planning your next. And really it's back to that Riri, you do need to spend some time reimagining yourself, seeing a vision of yourself for the future, and you're not done yet. And that's the perception often, mm-hmm. When you get in 50s and 60s and certainly in your 70s, that, oh, you should be really going somewhere and sitting down, mm-hmm. Or haven't you retired yet? Or, those kinds of things. And I do believe that we can, and one of the things I know I'm dedicated to doing is busting those myths, disrupting aging, yes. Challenging those outdated beliefs about mm-hmm. aging. And what's so interesting, folk? Everybody wants to live a long life, but don't nobody want to get old.
That's right.
And so
we got to do that.
Yeah, we've got to change that scenario. We need to know that I am living my most vibrant life now. Mm-hmm. The things that I know now, the things I've experienced, what was important to me in my 20s and 30s, I don't even remember them. Okay, but I now have, a wisdom and a confidence that I've never had before. And I've been a pretty confident person. I've had a successful career. I've had lots, but see, me, like lots of women in my age group, we've been through it. We've been through the test. So yes. We have our testimonies. We've been through it. And, life ain't been easy for none of us. But this is our time. And one of the things that I think is so important, particularly for Black women, is that this is our time to speak. This is our time to share our wisdom and knowledge, not only because it's the right time, it's our time, but so many people are now listening and want to hear what we have to say. And you know what? We got a lot to say.
We do.
We've been there, done that. And I believe that it's women, particularly Black women, who will make a difference. And, you know, I'm just trying to do those things that help us unleash our influence. So the perception about aging is certainly one thing, you know, but it's up to us by what we do to disrupt that and challenge what I think are outdated beliefs. Because I want to live a long, healthy, vibrant life. Don't you?
I absolutely do. I can't wait till I'm older and I can like yell at people and like nobody can do anything about it. It's just like
listen. Oh, that's, you know, he's old, you know, just excuse him, you know.
I don't know, guys. Listen, this generation is quite disrespectful, but I wanted to talk about Dr. Geneva, how she speaks with such conviction. You see it, Brian, right? When she says what she says. And that was the beauty in what I tried to bring together in that article. That when she talks about particularly Black women, professional development, because now is the time, I started that off because that's a very powerful statement. And she believes that, and that's what she works towards. But also, I loved how she talked about her family and her mom, what they instilled upon her. And that's why the article is entitled, you know, Living Her Legacy Out Loud, because that is a legacy that her parents started, and she's doing it now and will leave the same legacy. So there is so much richness in her book, you know, the one that she wrote with her father, but also in what she's doing, that it cannot be overlooked. But being, as she said, a speaker, a Black woman right now, it is imperative for us to speak out because, like she said, people are now listening.
Well, I think Black women are y'all, you know, Black women are crushing it. I mean, 80% of BSN are Black women, entrepreneurs, inspiring entrepreneurs, Black women. Yeah. Black women are also the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the country, I think, still. So
right. And so it's not that we've actually changed the game, because we've always been doing this. So let's make sure we're clear with that. We've, as Black women, we've always done what we're doing, but now worldwide people are paying attention.
People are listening. Remember when Kamala Harris was in the debate with Pence, and she said, "I'm speaking."
That's the only part that I remember.
I'm speaking. And so that's where Black women are right now. Like, I'm speaking. And Dr. Geneva, her company is called Dr. Geneva Speaks. That's it. And when we say I'm speaking now, I'm speaking, hold on. And that's where you said 80% of the women of BSN are 80% of the membership are women. That is, I did not realize that. Because when you really look at it, Brian, the major platform speakers for Black speakers is really men. And so for BSN, for to be the come out of 80% being women is really interesting, because I can't think of a female type of Les Brown or a female type of George Fraser or a female type of Willie Jolly. Those are like the brand names in the speaking industry, especially for Blacks. Dennis Kimbrough. So women Lisa are Nichols. On that. Yeah, Lisa Nichols, that's true. She's one of the few that kind of broke through, but there's only one Lisa Nichols type of that. But for BSN to be 80% women, so it needs to be that equal footing on that type of thing. Now, Black Speakers Network, 80% women, and then really 80% of our covers for Speakers Magazine is usually women as well. You know, we have on the back cover Dr. Renee Allen, and then we have Geneva on the front and that sort of thing. So we look at, like, where are we now in terms of Black women trailblazing that arena? And Lisa has she's been doing it over probably 30 years now, been speaking. But she started out as a youth speaker, and then she really transitioned into the other parts that she's doing right now. So I'm just really excited because Dr. Geneva, she said, She's not done yet. She's got online courses. She has books. She has ebooks. She has blogs. She has podcasts. She's on Clubhouse. And all of these things are just part of, like, she's courageous in doing it. She's courageous. She's doing live. I forgot about her influencer group. Now tell me about your women. Women influencer group. How many women in there?
Oh, we have over 1,000. We just hit
over 1,000.
I just started that about a year ago, and it's called Extraordinary Women Influencers. So anybody on Facebook, please go over and join.
1,000.
And I created it to, you know, again, another platform for us to learn from each other, to give tips and advice and inspiration, because I do believe that, you know, women are the influencers, and we all happen to be extraordinary because we all have unique gifts and talent. And so, but the whole premise is that it starts from within. And so I'm a big believer of self-development. And that, you know, we as women have a responsibility to develop our own capacity and do a phenomenal job with that, so that we look good. And I don't mean just physically. I mean that we have that confidence inside of us that just oozes out, and we can see it. We look good, we feel good, our health is there, our health is on point, and we do good. That is, we speak on issues and we do good for our community. And I think we have a responsibility to be that good for ourselves, so that we can, in fact, unleash all of that and help, you know, influence the world and our community, and take care of our children, and make sure that our children are taken care of. And so that's my reason for being in it. My reason for, my goal now is to help 1 million women develop high value personal action plans, so that they can empower themselves and make a better world and live a vibrant life. And the reason for me, you know, focusing a lot on this development of self-capacity is that I believe in this influence that we have. And that if we're so good ourselves and in ourselves, that we'll do so good for others. And so that's what I want to see, this change in the world, and a better place for our children to live in.
I don't know if you recall saying this, Dr. Geneva, but when we were talking, you mentioned about Black women saving the nation. You remember saying that? And that is something that she truly believes in. That's one of the things with her Facebook group. Her program is for women 50 plus. However, her message is transgenerational. You know, you cannot sleep on that message. And I think it is important that we get this message early. And that's one of the benefits of her Facebook group, Extraordinary Women, because we all, in this sense, have access to her message and to continue to learn. And when she talks about personal growth, I think of, she didn't mention this word, but I think of substance. She want to make sure that we have substance so that we can deliver what it is that we need to deliver, because she said it is up to Black women to save this nation. I take that seriously.
And you know, it's interesting that, thank you for that, for saying that, because it's interesting that, you know, I do believe, again, in, you know, the power of women. And I also know that we do it with the brothers who love us. And so it is a universal thing. It's interesting. I did a event for AARP a couple of days ago, and most of the comments and questions I got were from men who wanted advice on my subject that I was talking about, was creating your 2021 personal action plan. And I started off talking about how you can develop a compelling vision for your life. And many of the questions and comments I got back were from men who were interested in.
Because I was going to ask you, what is our personal action plan? Like, what are the components of that?
It's a good, great plan always starts with a compelling vision. So
Okay.
that is where we have this picture in our mind of what we want to be. And it's this future, ideal, unique picture of ourselves that we can back into and act out in everyday reality. So it starts with this vision. And I always like to have people to tell people, dream your biggest dream, because what you dream is what you're going to be. So it starts with a vision, and then it has goals and objectives and specific action steps that you can take to realize your vision, but yet be flexible. Mm-hmm. It also is something that looks at all aspects of your life, because we're all multidimensional. We're not just career or business. We've got a family. We worry about money. We play. We love. We travel. So having a vision that looks at all aspects of your life so that your plan is not single dimension, but multi-dimension. And then it's an action plan that has time frames, where you actually have some specific benchmarks and timelines. And then accountability, a schedule to make it happen, and goals that are real and don't fade away. And finally, and this is the component, Brian, that I really put into this planning process about a year or so when we were in pandemic, and you don't find in many action plans or when you talk to people about how you plan your life, and that is planning in self-care. Because so often both men and women are so busy doing their thing, doing their due, that they don't take care of themselves. However you define that. So when you put all of that together, you have this plan that's your direction, your roadmap, your blueprint for how you can move forward. So that's a personal action plan. And I go through, every step has components and nuances and tips and tricks and advice and so that's what helped me in my life.
I think that's really powerful. But do you feel like people really struggle with the vision part? Because I think part of that is like imposter syndrome. So like, who am I to like dream this thing? And then the other part of it is also like, if I don't know anybody, like if I'm the first person in my family that's wealthy or even potentially going in that direction, like I don't even know what the vision could be. So
well, who are you not to dream it? I mean, you can dream, and it's your mind, it's your story. You can create your story.
That's
you know what I'm saying? And when we talk about, don't not have anyone or et cetera, hey, you can go on any TV channel, on any YouTube channel, and you can find all kinds of people, all kinds of role models, all kinds of folks doing things that you can find out about. But yes, the vision part, Brian, is what people struggle with. In fact, we took a poll during my event I was talking about when I was teaching.
Yep.
And I asked, how many of you have a plan with a vision? And the majority, 60-some%, did not have a plan with a vision. And so I recognize that, putting this vision together is tough, but hey, Brian, you need to come to one of my sessions, because let me tell you, when we finish, you'll have your vision. You'll know exactly what to do, what the steps are. And one of the key parts, Brian, to creating that vision is identifying your core values. What's important to you? Integrity, honesty, responsibility, making a difference. What's important to you? So often we say, well, I know what matters to me, but do we really? And do we write it down? Do we intentionally think about and identify those top 3 things that are core values? Because once you have what's important, Brian, you're on your way to developing a vision, because that vision is really based on your core. And so,
that should be like
exactly why you need programs.
You can see why I'm a freak about this, but I just want to tell you that I started off as a young girl in my 20s doing this, because the training that I got in community organization and social planning, which I stumbled in it, but really that's where God sent me. What we learned, what the learning was doing visions, helping communities and organizations create community action plans. So I spent years in the community, working with all kinds of people, street gangs. I've done this with youth groups and gangs in Philadelphia. I came to Detroit, did it with all kinds of grassroots groups of this visioning process and creating goals and how do you make your dreams come true. And so when I reinvented myself or reimagined what I could do, I said, well, wait a minute. I worked within organizations and grassroots folks and all kinds of folks doing this. I can do this now and help individuals with this. So that's why I'm.
How are we doing on time, guys? I have one question for her. How are we doing on time? Do we need to move it along?
We got 2 minutes. So go ahead.
2 minutes.
Oh, I wanted
go ahead.
Well, we didn't even go through the magazine, but we did do the video. But I was going to say the quote that kind of led this magazine, the publisher's page, it says, "Speak the truth, even if your voice shakes." So Dr. Geneva was, or Brian was talking about imposter syndrome. That was a quote by Maggie Kuhn, and she talks about speaks the truth, even if your voice shakes. And I talk about when my daughter did her first speech contest, and it was for her to win a scholarship for, I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but anyway, she started out with that quote and she did her speech from there because she was scared. She was only like in the 10th grade, I think. So a lot of us, until we're doing it over and over again, we're going to be scared. We'll be scared to do a Facebook Live. We'll be scared to start a group. We'll be scared to get on club. We'll be scared until you do it. So the courage is just to do it, do it scared, to speak with, even if your voice shakes, just do it. And that's my main thing. It's like, you never know once you start moving forward and then get it done. Sierra knows. It's like, Sierra, you're going to show up. You're going to do this.
A shaky voice, I get fearful in front of different audiences. And still today, I get fearful. And sometimes particularly when I first start out, you can hear it in my voice. And so I just say to myself, boy, I'm real excited. That shakiness and that fearful, I just change my mind about it and say that's my excitement and my passion. And I get, just get into it. Before we close, I do want to give a shout out to my sorors of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, because I'm in pink and green on the cover, and I am a golden soror. And in case you don't know what that means,
I don't know what that means.
Yes, okay.
It means that I have been in the sorority at least 50 years. So I've been serving. Let me tell you, I joined the sorority at Morgan State University, Alpha Delta chapter in Baltimore, Maryland, when I was 19 years old. 2 months after I came into the sorority, I was selected and elected as the president of that chapter. And I have been leading and serving in Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority for over 50 years. In fact, we went online, which is called you join the sorority, you go through the process the night Martin Luther King was assassinated, April 4th, 1968. Everyone on my line remembers that night. And
that's life-changing.
1968, I've been a member of the sorority. So now it's, I think, 52 years. And so that's what it means. And I just want to give a real shout out to my sorors who, when I think about Black women leading, Black women serving, and particularly those sorors who, went to HBCUs where we were taught how to be ambitious and audacious and care and serve and lead. So I just want to express my appreciation. And that's why I'm in that pink and green.
I love that. Audacious, ambitious and audacious. I love it.
I'm gonna try to share my screen. I'm only on my computer right now because normally we have like a second screen to kind of do this, but I'm gonna try to see.
I will say she is so funny because also to the cover of the book, I don't know if you have it near you, Justice on the Jersey Shore, The picture that's on the cover was also by one of her sorors as well, Giselle Bonds. So Giselle is I think she's at a regional conference right now for AKAs or something in California or something like that. So she told me to tell you hello as well.
Good.
Yes. Oh, this is good.
Yeah. I wanted you to share the story quickly about you talked about community, and you shared with me when you were given an opportunity to go to, which school was it? It was a prestigious school, and they wanted to pigeonhole you into a program. And you said, no, we're not doing that. Share that story with them. I didn't get to write about it, but it's a great story.
Well, when I it was, and I was approaching my, in the late 60s, 70s, it was the time also of Kent State and the protest about the Vietnam War and the assassination of Martin Luther King. So it was tumultuous times on campuses. And I was, back then, I really probably haven't changed much. I was a revolutionary, And when my mom and dad told me, if you go straight to grad school, we'll pay for it. I said, no, I can't take that. I'm going to be out on my own. So after about 8 months of that, which, I was working and all that, I didn't want that. So a sorority sister of mine called me and said, at Bryn Mawr, they're giving scholarships and tuition for Blacks because they need to diversify the school. Now, Bryn Mawr was one of the top-rated schools in the country, and she said they're giving it for social work. I know nothing about social work. I didn't have no training, nothing in it, but I needed to get out of what I was doing. So I said, okay, sign me up. And within a month, I had applied, signed up, got my tuition started. Well, the first day, you could go in we registered, you could go in one of two tracks. Mm-hmm. One was social work, what most people think of, direct counseling, one-to-one interaction. The other was policy development, social organizing, community organizing, what President Barack Obama was. That was the other track. And they were pushing Blacks to go into the direct service track. And I said, now I didn't know nothing about nothing. I know nothing. I didn't know nothing. I said, I'm going to go over here because that's where they seem to not be encouraging Blacks to go into. And I went into that community organizing, policy leadership, and I didn't know, but that God was directing me there because I fell into what was my work, because that was about leadership and service.
And impact, community impact. And that's what a lot of your legacy is. Entering communities, changing for the better, helping them grow. And it's all because you decided, or you felt the need to say no to this, but yes to that. And when you got there, you mentioned how you felt right at home. You said, this is me. So that was pretty
on the shoulders and encouragement of many.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So Pam, I want to make sure we get a chance to kind of go through the issue. First of all, and I'm glad Morgan State University is in the building. Dr. Geneva, Golden Soror, make us so proud.
And I love Morgan. I also serve on Morgan's foundation board.
Okay.
And so Dr. Wilson and everyone there at Morgan, they're just doing a phenomenal job because Morgan State University is a treasure.
It is a national treasure, absolutely. So, and you see Pam paying homage, rocking her green and pink. So we're keeping it going. So I do want to walk through this issue before we close out. Obviously, beautiful cover. So was this a photo that you already had, or was this something that you did for Speakers Magazine?
In fact, it was taken at right before the surprise baby shower for my oldest daughter with her third child.
Okay.
Yeah. And her your speaking reel, I think if you hover over that, I think her speaking reel is there. Yes.
Yep, it is.
So Brian, in other words, she just looks fabulous just on any given day.
Well, I know. I wanted the main thing I wanted to ask, we had time to get into it, but I know you won a beauty pageant and was it Fit and Fine? So, you know, I'm not surprised about that at all.
But it really was, I tell Pam, because Pam was the one who pushed me to do it. And it was okay.
The photo or the pageant?
The pageant.
Okay.
Because, you know, stepping out of your comfort zone is where you find the change and growth. And I needed to do that because I was still in my, you know,
Pam is that pushing.
Pam is what it was supposed to do. But it was a pageant that honored women, African American women, and their health. And so that, you know, it had that mission, that good community impact mission to it. And that's what got me to really say yes, to get in it. And then, you know, Brian, I was the oldest one. And
she won. She walked away with the trophy.
And Brian, but wait a minute, I was the curviest one. Because everyone else was, you know, size 5, size 7, size maybe 10. And I was
everybody else was kind of like a stick.
And so, but I did win.
Well, congratulations.
That was fun. That was a fun day.
So in the issue, we got the Ultimate Success Tour. I haven't seen Ariana. When I first started Black Speakers Network, I remember seeing her like all over the place. But this is her mom, right? I think. Stacia.
Dr. Stacia. Okay. Dr. Stacia Pierce and Ariana Pierce. They really did the pivot from doing things live in person, like everybody else, doing a virtual Ultimate Success Tour.
But I mean, I remember seeing her like everywhere. Like, so she has some really, really great content. So I know that they know kind of what they're doing. So it's cool to see that they got this coming up in March. Yes. And then we got, did you do your publishers? Oh, here we go. Yep. Yeah. So I'm assuming this is on Women's History Month.
It definitely is. It definitely is. It talks about, you know, whose shoulders we stand on, from, you know, Maya to Cicely to Michelle Obama to Oprah, you know, all the major influencers, and really just talking about how women are courageous now. We're really, like Dr. Geneva said, it's our time. It's our time, and people are listening to what Black women are. This young lady here is from the Baltimore area too. Her name is Sharon Morton. She actually is a TV reporter, and she's on Sirius XM as well. But she is speaking. She doesn't speak as much as she said because of the pandemic, but she's doing more virtual things now, and she's trying to really break more into that because she was always used to being on stages. Everybody had to do the whole pivot.
Yeah. Okay, Hair.
I think you know TC. Yes, and I think you know TC Cooper. I think she's in your area as well.
I think she's a BSM member, perhaps.
Yes.
Yep. So, she's
Dr.
in.
Geneva knows Silver Ray as well, because I think you've had her on her podcast when you did the first 25 or so.
Exactly. Yeah. Next week too.
I feel like y'all should be like strategic partners over here. That's cool.
Silver Ray is also a model as well.
I could tell. She's like very much got that like profile. And then we got the cover story here.
And I like that pink and green jumpsuit too. That was always cool. I like that one there.
You talking about this?
That red shirt, collar pop, that says it all to me. That's money shot right there. That's power.
That's the clubhouse shot too.
Yes, power, commanding, yes.
Awesome. Yeah, beautiful layout here.
And then I think there's a video on this. Her video from when she did like her TED
here.
Talk, not really a TED Talk, but it's the video there from when she did the Twisted Storytellers. That's what that is. Talking about her book, Justice on the Jersey Shore.
Awesome. Very interactive. I've definitely noticed the pearls in here too. So that's cool. We got Kimmy Johnson.
Yes.
Kimmy Johnson. Yep.
Yes. Kimmy Johnson. She's breaking into speaking. She has a magazine called Purpose Driven Woman Magazine. And so she really is a purpose driven speaker wherever you get her, she's going to be talking about purpose. And then also too, I felt it was necessary to talk about style for speakers, virtual style. Dr. Geneva is like the epitome right now. What she has on is perfection, like the necklace, the earrings, and all of that. But a lot of people don't know how to pull that stuff together. So I had a stylist talk about how to really pull it together for virtual stages, because we know how to do it like in person, but like it's different for virtual, making sure that is correct.
Love it.
Backgrounds and all of that. Health. Dr. Franchelle Hamilton, she actually is one of the top bariatric doctors in the country. And then Tisha Hammond, she's speaking for the leadership tour, I think, with Sean Fair coming up in April. So she's excited to be in this issue as well. She's got new brand shots and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's more than just speaking. You know, you got to have the other stuff together.
Exactly.
Then KTB, Karen Taylor Bass, she is another one that has done a reinvention. Dr. Geneva, she is now a full-fledged yoga instructor. And that is what she does. And she does yoga retreats, virtual yoga retreats for corporations, because people are anxious. And that's her space right now, really talking about that whole self-care. And that sort of thing. My podcast, Get Out There, Get Known, and then the membership, Ready, Set, Go, Speak, Red, Black, and Green. There we go.
What do you want to say a little bit about the podcast? Because some people might not know what it is.
Yeah, Get Out There, Get Known is on iHeart, Spotify, Pandora. You can go to Pam Perry Podcast and read the show notes. And it's a video podcast, actually, in Apple Podcasts as well. So when you go and listen to your podcast, you can actually watch it as well in Apple Podcasts as well. So it's weekly. And I interview those that are in media, because they tell us exactly how to really pitch them. And I also interview my PR colleagues, because it's almost like shop talk with them as well. And then sometimes I do some solo shows that really talk about how to get out there and get known in terms of pulling together your brand and how to pitch yourself. Yep.
Love it.
So let me just mention too, Ready, Set, Go, Speak. If you are a rising speaker, even a seasoned speaker, that program is sensational for anyone who wants to prepare themselves for the stage as well as for publicity, because that program is phenomenal. I tell you, everything. Pam tells all her gems in that program, and I don't think people realize how valuable it is right now. But I'm telling you, the minute they catch on, the prices are going to go up. So I suggest you have the program now. Really.
That's true. I wanted to really try to help as many people as possible, because a lot of people were struggling with the whole online branding and how to do everything. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I can't coach everybody one-on-one. So it is really a membership program where people can come in and ask questions to me one-on-one about marketing, PR. And I give people media tips every single week, new media tips every single week. And media contact.
And we have some superstars coming out of that program.
Yeah.
Cynthia is on the same program with Sean, and then we have another gentleman that's just doing phenomenal based upon her guidance and her.
I love seeing that when they really catch on. It's like, oh my God, they are gone. I'm like, I love it. I love it. They are really doing the darn thing. And it's possible. I saw it in them all the time. So when they come back and tell me that such and such worked, I'm like, yeah, I knew. You just had to do it. Yeah, you just had to do it. I know you had it in you all the time. Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz.
And we had the People's MC.
Yes, Dr. Renee Allen. She is one of George Frazier's MCs as well. Her and Dr. Stacey NC Grant, they work with Dr. George Frazier at the Power Networking Conference. But it's a gift sometimes to be an MC or to be a facilitator. Dr. Geneva knows that. A lot of times people will call her and ask her to be a facilitator or MC. And people forget about that part of speaking. That, yeah, you could be a platform or a keynote speaker, but also people will hire you to MC or to facilitate programs for you. And there's a stream there that people forget about, that they can position themselves in that spot as well. Dr. Geneva is a master facilitator. That is something that especially nonprofits will call her and ask her to do that particular thing. And people are like, well, I just want to be a speaker. But look at other parts of the speaking industry as well. That's one of the things that people do, because not everybody's going to be on the platform speaking. You're going to have other parts of organizations that need a facilitator for these things. And it's a gift. It really is a gift.
It is. To carry a whole program, that takes a lot.
It
Absolutely.
is. A lot of energy.
Well, that Speakers Magazine, that's on the March edition. And again, always such a phenomenal job, Pam. Appreciate you putting this together, and appreciate you just opening the door to so many speakers, particularly here in the BSN community. If you are interested in being featured in next month or any of the future editions, we got the opportunity here. You just go to speakersmagazine.net/advertorial. /advertorial, and you can actually, all the information that you need is there, and you could fill out your information and get started. And but you definitely want to hurry, because the content submission deadline is typically around the 20th. And so if you want to get in, now's the time to do it, and we could be having you up on here next month. But as we roll out,
and if not, we'll add them to the waiting list for the following month. So you know,
do get in,
but yes, don't think you'll miss out completely.
Yeah, but I want people to feel like they won't miss out. So go ahead and hurry up and stop procrastinating, like Dr. Geneva said.
Very good. Very good.
Okay, so here's the deal. We are done. Dr. Geneva, did you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, I just want to probably end where I started, and that was to thank each of you for what you do for speakers. And I so much appreciate, Pam, you making the point that we as speakers can be keynote speakers or main speakers on platforms, but we also can be facilitators and MCs and hosts. Again, back to that repurposing, reimagining, diversifying what we do. And I just think that the kind of platform, Brian, that you provide with Black Speakers Network, and Pam, you know, with the Speakers Magazine. I was around when Pam first had the idea, and I thought it was phenomenal then, and I think it's even more now. So I just really wanted to express my appreciation to each of you for giving me the opportunity to get my message out and hopefully bring some value.
Absolutely.
DrGenevaSpeaks.com.
Absolutely. Now, we appreciate that. This is one of my favorite parts of the month, and being able to, you know, share in this. I think the whole idea of having a community is that we get, just like you're running a powerful community for 1,000 women, it's the exact same thing. We get better with each additional person that comes in. We get better, and you know, we need the whole space for people to be able to shine brightly and to know what's possible. So we're there. Sierra, any last thoughts?
And Sierra, let me also do a special shout out to you for writing my story.
Well, thank you very much. It's always, you know, I always tell you guys, I'm very humble. I'm in a space of gratitude and humility, and I'm just happy to be in the space among people. I am huge on community. There is nothing I cannot do. You know, there's nothing I can do alone. So I really cherish the community that I'm part of. So thank you, Pam and Brian, for allowing me into your community. And thank you, Geneva, for sharing your wisdom and nuggets with me. And it was my pleasure to be able to write and share your story with others.
Thank you so much.
Ooh. And Pam?
Well, I just want to leave with this quote. It says, I believe the better developed we are as women, the better we are able to influence positive change, make a difference, and have an inarguable impact. And that is Dr. Geneva Williams, DrGenevaSpeaks.com. That is her quote. That is her quote. I love it. I love it. That is her. I mean, she walks her talk. So I've seen it in her the whole time. And I'm just really proud of what she is doing and continuing to doing. She had like a major TV interview today too. That was pretty major. So I don't know if she wants to share or not, but more stuff is coming on the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this will not be your last time here to BSN Community, Dr. Geneva. In fact, you're welcome anytime, of course. And so thank you everyone for tuning in and listening. Certainly super excited to, continue as 2021 rolls along. This has already been, I think, a slightly less chaotic year than 2020, but also some as things start to normalize and live events perhaps returning later this year or next year. I'm excited that we can keep this tradition going, and we know that people are pivoting, but nothing's stopping. We continue to do the work and we continue to show up for the audience that we serve, and it's a good thing. So thank you, everyone. Have an amazing rest of the weekend, and keep speaking up. We'll see y'all on stage. Have a great day.
Have a good one.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.